Yo, what's good, y'all? What's good? Looks like my deal switch over. Give me a second. Oh, there it is. What's good, everybody? As y'all can see, it's been a while since your boy's been on, especially talking about this subject, the financial corner. But we definitely gonna dive in today, because it's very important to talk about what's going on when it comes to finances, the inflation and the recession. And before we get started, you know what I mean, definitely with the tragedy going on there in Texas, man, Uvalde, Texas. I personally have a homeboy that I was in the military with, that lives in that area. You know what I'm saying? Um, Man, it's just disgusting what's going on out there, or what happened. You know what I'm saying? So just get that out the way right now. You know what I mean? If I really wanted to say what I wanted to say, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'd probably be banned off every social media and streaming service known to man if I really voice my opinion. You know what I mean? So, but I'm gonna leave it at that. But definitely to the families out there, man. That's, of course, this year's been crazy. Actually, the last years, not even just this year, but years, been nuts with all that stuff going on. So, but hopefully everybody's, you know what I mean, hopefully everybody's day is going all right. You know what I mean? It's Thursday. Well, today's Wednesday, not Thursday. I'm already ready for the week to be over with, man, with everything I got going on. See what I'm saying? So, but with everything going on with the market, the reason why I haven't been on is there really isn't much to talk about, like week by week when it came to stuff going on in the market. You see what I'm saying? So, biggest thing I kind of, wanted to reiterate is definitely, regardless of what the market does, staying invested long term always gives you the best benefits, the best chances for your money to grow over time. You know what I mean? All the little dips and, what's going on right now, you know, is means nothing if you're investing long term. You know what I mean? It's a whole different ball game if you're, doing trading, and if you're, short term investor and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's a different ball game in that alley. And I really don't do options or trade short term or none like that. I don't do none of that. So I kind of look for, me personally, what's going to give me the best chance to grow my money long term. Now, I will say this, I think, was it a couple of days ago? Yeah, there's been a few stocks that literally like fell off a cliff because of what's been going on. And we're going to talk about certain things as we go along in today's topics. But like I said, we're going to look to talk about inflation. We're also going to talk about like the national gas price. We're also going to talk about the unemployment numbers, because all of it plays into preparing yourself in what's to come. You know what I mean? We all know prices have increased in certain areas tremendously. You know what I mean? Obviously, fuel has increased tremendously, and it definitely wears on the pocketbook, because the more you spend on regular everyday expenses for what you need, you're not going to have much left over, especially, when it comes to doing what you want. By time put all your money to your needs, you might have next to nothing when it comes to a little something for enjoyment. Hence why it's very important, if it's possible, you can, have another hustle, on top of the job that you already working. Some people are already working two jobs and they still barely able to make it. And to those people in the areas like that, man, I tell you what, I know it's rough. You know what I mean? Been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? I know it's rough. Especially when you live in certain high end areas, aka if you live in certain states like California, New York, Texas, Florida, you know what I mean? the coastal places where cost of living could be pretty rough. So but we're gonna look at each factor and talk about preparation and stuff like that. But one thing we are definitely going to establish right off the bat is making sure that you're budgeting yourself, because no one knows what's going to happen. We all know that the feds are going to raise the interest rates. They're talking about at least another half a point. So with that being said, and they're going to do that, I believe they're looking to do that in June and then again in July, something like that. But either way, the points are going to be up like a half a point from what they're talking about, just to combat inflation. So, the conversation was when the government was throwing out all that free money out of the sky, and hitting the markets and hitting the system itself, meaning when people were getting the stimulus and it was being injected into the system, where some people were paying their rent, some people were buying this, some people were investing. They were looking for the feds to increase the rates earlier to prevent the inflation runoff that's going on now. But even with all the money being dried up with the increase of interest rates, you can clearly see what is being affected, especially when it comes to companies that have no kind of earnings, that they're just going off of, powder puff numbers per se, nothing concrete. A lot of, especially when it comes to tech, because a lot of tech companies kind of don't really establish themselves until years down the road. So a lot of the times, it's more like you're going off of hopefully down the line that these companies will make money versus what can they put out right now. So hopefully everybody, like I said, we're going to try to go through each area little by little. So let's go ahead and see what the stocks did today. Obviously the stocks was up today. Even my portfolio was up today. I will say one thing that I'm glad about my personal portfolio, which this November I'll be showing. Y'all know that every November, my plan is every November, you guys will see what I've bought, what I've been doing, the ups and downs of the portfolio, the reinvestment and the dividends. So you guys will always, every year in November, you guys will be able to see the actual numbers, how much the portfolio has grown, what I've bought, and also on the socials, I will also be clipping and pasting, as well as the increase or decrease of certain stocks. You see what I'm saying? So you guys can go along with me and see the progress within the portfolio itself. But with the markets the way it is right now, yes, today's looks like it's been an up day across the board. The S&P was up 0.95%. The Dow was up 0.6%. NASDAQ up 0.51%. And the Russell is up 1.95%. Now, of course, let me go say crude too. Oil is up as well. So there has been some interesting developments. One, obviously, and here goes the big story. There were some companies that was supposed to, their guidance when it comes to, and Nvidia was one of the big ones today when it came to profits, what their top line and bottom line would be. But as you can see, it fell down 9%. And it's interesting because with the so-called chip shortage and everything, what they're talking about, it's well gonna go into 2023, possibly 2024, which means that prices for electronics and everything else that uses a chip will more than likely stay high. So, which meaning it's still even hard to get certain gaming systems. Obviously, you guys still, see the shortage in certain areas still, or certain computer parts that are more expensive because of the fact that they still haven't really churned out yet when it comes to quantity, when it comes to certain chips. So, but we're gonna look down on the right hand side if you guys look, like um some of these names, like as you see, like GameStop, Tesla, Google, Amazon, we all know Google is going for a 20-to-1 split. If you guys don't know, I forgot when they're gonna do their split, but they're doing a 20-to-1 split. Amazon is doing a 20-to-1 split. Sunoco, I used to have Sunoco. I sold Sunoco myself. Coca-Cola's going up. IBM has gone up. I got into IBM when it was $123 a share. Verizon is hitting me hard. I got into Verizon when it was $58 a share. Now it's 51, but I'll still buy Verizon. Yeah, and I still haven't bought Apple, but I did get into Walmart. That much I did do. I did get into Walmart. So let's look at Nvidia. Let's see what Nvidia dropped at. We all know Nvidia definitely led the way when it came to chips, and well, I should say when they were up like 600 and something. I believe they did a stock split as well, if I'm not mistaken. Whoo, so when they closed today, they were up plus 8 point, and then they dropped all the way down. Let's see what the chart is looking like. Got a 1 year. Let's look at full screen. All right, so looking at this 2-year chart, as you guys can see on Nvidia, looking at this 2-year chart, right? You notice they peaked up here at 329, and they just steady fell down. They even had a little burst up here in March, and then they've just been falling ever since. I believe still at right here, Nvidia is a good buy, because if you look at it, the last time it actually was it May 2021. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think Nvidia is gonna drop below 150. That's just my opinion. Can it still drop a little more? Possibly, but when it comes to, you know, cash flow and just the company, the way it's ran, when it comes to debt and like I said before, cash flow and everything, I believe Nvidia is definitely, if you're looking for that type of stock, a chip stock, if you wanted to invest in it, Nvidia is a good one to invest. Now, Nvidia does not give dividends, I don't believe. Let me look. A very small deal. But I mean, Nvidia just has a lot of room to grow. Me personally, I have Intel and IBM. I don't have Nvidia. Of course, y'all know me. I love my dividend stocks. You know what I'm saying? So, but I even got into Walmart. I bought Walmart the other day. Walmart had and I'm gonna show you why I got into Walmart. I'm gonna show you guys a chart. And I'm gonna tell you why I got into Walmart. I'm gonna show you why, first of all. I'm gonna look. Screen. I'm gonna go 1 year and I'm gonna show you why. Let's go 3 months so you guys can see the drop. Here we go. This is why I got into Walmart. I did not get into Walmart when it was up here at all. I'm gonna show you guys a 5-year chart real quick. You see how Walmart got it was steadily growing all the way up, and all of a sudden it just fell off a cliff. and at right there it was at 119. I did not get. I wish I would have set an alert, because when it comes to Walmart, one thing when you have inflation and recession, Walmart is one of those places that you have Walmart, stock is just not gonna fail you at all. With the dividend that they give, if you get in at the right price, what I mean by right price is definitely not up here when it's 140 something. If I'm taking Walmart, I'm taking Walmart right here, like at a 118, because the drop off from here to here, from 156, I believe, 157 all the way down to 123. Shoo. You know, and Walmart was one of those I was patiently waiting on for it to drop very significantly before I got in, because I got in like, I think I got in like at 122, right at this little uptick right here. So my thing is, if Walmart, let's go to year to date. If Walmart does decide to drop below that, actually, let's go the 5-year chart. If Walmart decides to drop any lower, I'm going to pick up more. Now in 2020, obviously, it was down to 107. You know what I mean? But do I see it dropping any further? I don't see Walmart dropping that low, because obviously we all knew what happened in, you know what I mean, in March 2020, we all knew what happened. But yet, Walmart still continued. Even look at this, the steady increase over the years, even with all the dips in price, the drops. Like Walmart didn't even drop significantly, even during, you know, when the Rona and all that. So, but as you can see, Walmart continues to have a steady trend upward. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is, I wanted to get into Walmart, but I wasn't going to do it at any of these prices up here at all. None. I needed it to drop significantly, like down here. You know, something that's reasonable, because now if there is a recession, people still need to get things from the store regardless. And Walmart, Costco, Sam's, all them, it don't matter. Walmart's just a heavyweight when it comes to consumer retail and all that. So I made sure I got in Walmart like at 122. If it drops lower, I'm going to get more Walmart, because it's just gonna go up. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if a recession does happen, people still gonna need to buy stuff, and the expense is gonna be passed on literally to the consumer regardless. A lot of people, yo, Flex, what's going on, brother? Appreciate the alert. But one thing that people need to understand, that these companies are not going to at all. Oh, hold on, y'all. These companies are not going to absorb any type of increase. They're going to try to make sure they save their bottom line. So, you know, when prices get higher, we're going to be the ones end up paying for it. So just brace yourselves. That's all I'm about to say on that. So, I mean, with rent and everything getting high as well, I mean, it is crazy out there. And unfortunately, with the increases due to inflation and the moratoriums that's been going on, that people didn't have to pay rent and all that, and I've talked about this last time, is with the rent moratoriums that were protecting people, this was bound to happen when the landlords were going to increase the rent, and there was nothing people are going to be able to do about it. The landlords had to recoup that money somehow for not being paid for so long. Now, some people were still paying their rent, you know what I mean? But you had in certain places where people hadn't paid no rent for a year. So well, you think that rent was just going to disappear? And of course, they talked about the federal government giving some assistance, which, you know how slow that money can roll depending. And if you didn't qualify or whatever, shoot, as a landlord, you might be out of luck. You know what I mean? So, and with that being said, and I've also said this last time, you have a lot of these corporations, big banks, big hedge funds coming in, buying these houses up, buying up everything and gonna turn those houses into rentals because they can do that. Now, instead of dealing with, your local landlord, you're gonna be dealing with a big corporation who can easily remove you, you know what I mean, if you don't, pay up on time or whatever the case may be. When it comes to that, if the renter, breaks anything in the lease or whatever, those big corporations, they have lawyers. They'll get their money or something, one way or the other. You know what I mean? But, and even with the mortgage spike as well as the housing prices spiking up, people are having a hard time being able to buy homes because A, there is a limited number of supply, and B, because the prices and inflation is up so high, the only people that could really afford these homes are the ones that are buying it in cash, depending on, because you have people selling their homes like in California, New York, and Florida that can come to the Midwest or somewhere like that where you can buy two houses for the price of one. You know what I mean? And you still have the whole work from home depending on where you're working at. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of moving parts that are very different from the norm when it comes to when trying to target when it comes to the market, and when is there going to be a recession, when the inflation is going to be able to be handled depending on the interest rates raising. So a lot of interesting moving parts going on right now, which is very unfamiliar territory because you have a lot of people that use the data from way back when to kind of predict, what's going to happen in the future in the next few years. But unfortunately, because there has been some unique situations going on, it's going to be very hard to, kind of, I won't say pinpoint, but kind of estimate, where these numbers might go when it comes to inflation and when it comes to, the drop of mortgages or rent. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't see the rent dropping. I don't see it. Once the rent is set at these prices, that's what they're going to be set at. I don't see rent dropping, nope, any lower at all. And I've said this before too. If all these landlords pretty much set rent at a particular price, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to be stuck paying the same price where you at. And you ain't going to have no choices. Either that or you're not going to have a roof over your head. You see what I'm saying? So, but it's just rough out there for a lot of people right now, because it's insane. I'm not going to lie. It is pretty much insane when it comes to that, so, but let's look at inflation. Let's see. The annual inflation rate for the United States is 8.3 for the 12 months ended April 2022, after rising 8.5% previously, according to the U.S. Labor Department published data May 11th. The next inflation update is scheduled for release June 10th at 8:30 a.m. It will offer the rate of inflation over 12 months ended in May. So right now, that's where the inflation is at over the past year. And obviously, with the rates being increased, it is very unique territory. Very unique territory. And a lot of it has to do with the amount of money stimulus that had to be pumped in the system by the feds. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people were getting at the point, well, maybe the feds waited too long, as I was saying earlier. If, some economists were like, well, if they would have did this earlier, then maybe it wouldn't be as high as it is now, but who knows? You know what I mean? But the thing is now is they are going to increase the rates high, consistent. Well, they're trying to do certain consistent numbers. They're talking about 0.5. They're not trying to go to 0.75. But regardless, with the Feds tightening to lower inflation, the problem is that a lot of economists are looking at as well is the Feds could possibly tighten so tight that it might send the economy into a recession. That is a possibility they're talking about, that it's possible that it could happen. It could or could not, depending on, the health of the economy, as they say. But as we look at it, see, the interesting part about this is they use the unemployment numbers as well. And I believe unemployment is that we're going to look at the employment numbers here in a little bit. But they're looking at it as the economy can take the tightening, even more tightening, and it won't send the economy into a recession. So, but we all know when it comes to the Reds raising the interest rates, right? That means borrowing money is going to be more expensive. You're going to have less loans, you know what I mean? Less refinancing, you know what I mean? So, and of course, with that also means, prices, inflation is causing prices to go up. Now, with them with them increasing the interest rate, will it bring down some of these inflationary prices when it comes to, food, housing, gas, and other things here and there? And in my opinion, I don't know, because this is such an interesting field of play, due to the fact that not only do you have low employment, but see, this is the thing. It's low employment national average, but if you look further into the national labor statistics, there is still unemployment is still high when it comes to minorities. I think it was like months ago, right, that we looked at the actual statistics, and if you go down and you really read it, you notice the national average is very different from the minority average. I believe it's usually double when it comes to the unemployment figures. So one thing I don't never really go by is that whole unemployment number, because you have to really get down and really read between the lines when it comes to the unemployment, because regardless of the fact, when the Feds are looking at the unemployment number, they believe the economy can withhold the increase of interest rates. So, but it's like a teeter-totter type of thing, you know what I mean? And of course, with the crisis going on, y'all know in Europe right now, the crisis going on in Europe, that's going to cause certain inflationary prices to be even higher. You know what I mean? If that conflict doesn't stop anytime soon, if it gets drawn out and it keeps going and going and going, there's just certain commodities. Of course, y'all know a lot of wheat comes from that region to supply, other places in Europe and whatnot. But if the conflict keeps going and it causes supply restrictions, there are going to be other countries hurt, and it's going to drive up the price of certain commodities. And the one that comes to mind right off the bat is wheat, So, and it's just a matter of time before, I don't know how Europe can just, I should say, I don't think it's all of Europe when it comes to when they're so dependent on Russian gas, you know what I'm saying? But to put your eggs in, put all your eggs in one basket and dealing with that, man, that's something else. That's very surprising, because, you have some countries that got their hands tied behind their back because they got to have energy somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying? So, but it is what it is. But anyways, but yeah, so now let's look at, like I said, anything I'm talking about here is pretty generic. You know, I'm not gonna get in depth when it comes to specific numbers, because you got all these economists and number crunchers and this and that, you know, trying to estimate this and estimate that. One thing we know for sure, if that conflict keeps going, if oil keeps rising, and if inflation doesn't get under control, we are going to be in a world of hurt when it comes to prices being high, people not being able to, you know, buy homes for a while. You know, people are going to be spending the majority of their paychecks on food, rent, and gas. And some people going to end up with roommates because they won't be able to afford a place by themselves. You know what I mean? It's getting to the point where, you know, if you can afford to live by yourself, you in a good spot. You know what I mean? That means you got a good career, a good job, something good, side hustles, whatever. But if you living by yourself, and when it start in the climates like these, or possibly it could get worse, and, you know, count your blessings, because I'll tell you right now, you got people gonna be running back home. You got people that's gonna be needing roommates, like I said earlier. Some people might not make it. Some people might be homeless because of what's been going on with the situation, and that is just absolutely rough. You know what I mean? So it is not easy out there with everything going on, and no one really knows when it's going to ease, and the prices have to come down some shape, way, or form. So until that kind of gets under control, you know, who knows when inflation will get under control. When they keep raising those interest rates, and it's going to be a while, they're going to keep hitting it hard until it just comes down to a point. But like I said, who knows what the after effects are going to be, if it's going to put us in a recession in the long run. You see what I'm saying? So let's look at, next thing we're going to look at is the unemployment situation. Like I said earlier, I'm going to read this little snippet down here. The unemployment remained at 3.6% in April, and the number of unemployed persons was essential unchanged at 5.9 million. The measures are a little different from their values in February 2020, 3.5% and 5.7 million respectively. Prior to the, I ain't gonna say that because I really don't feel like getting flagged for saying certain words. All right, we're gonna read another little snippet here. Among the unemployed, the number of permanent job losers remained at 1.4 million in April, and the number of persons on temporary layoff was a little change, 853,000. These measures are a little different from the values in February 2020. In April, the number of long-term unemployment, those jobless for 27 weeks or more, was a little change at 1.5 million. This measure is 362,000 higher in February 2020. The long-term unemployed accounted for 25.2% of all employed persons in April. Both the labor force participation rate at 62.2% and the employed population ratio at 60% were a little changed over the month. The measures are each 1.2% points below their February 2020 values. Okay. So right now, the labor market, they're saying, is 62.2%. Wow. That needs to be like at a 80 plus, 85% plus participation rate. Woo-wee. Let's see if we can find... Okay, saying, all right, so employment, we'll look at the employment numbers real quick. Obviously, you guys can Google all this. Like I said, we're looking at the actual labor statistics to see what jobs they added. Leisure and hospitality increased 78,000 in April. Manufacturing added 55,000 in April. Transportation and warehousing added 52,000 in April. Professional business and services added 738,000. Financial activities 35,000. Healthcare 34,000. Retail and trade 29,000. Wholesale trade 22,000. Mining 9,000. Average hourly earnings for all employees on private non-farm payroll rose by 10 cents. Now we all know that you've been having a lot of people switching jobs for better condition, higher pay, or work from home. The whole work from home deal is not gonna go away ever. You're gonna have companies try to push people to get back into the office, but the thing is that the pandemic has shown that companies can be ran from remotely depending on the job. So you're gonna have a lot of people looking for those, stay at home jobs if possible, and then if they have to go in, they only have to go in maybe 1 or 2 days a week. But in the pandemic, in my personal opinion, you do have a lot of people switching jobs, looking for this, looking for that. But I think what's going to happen is the more prices increase, the longer the inflation goes up, and if it can't be curtailed or come down, I think people are going to end up jumping into any job if they haven't done it already, because of the fact that prices are going up. And if with inflation, you have to make money in order to buy the necessities. There is just no ifs, ands, or buts. So some people, depending on their resume, might, and their savings and whatever else, can hold out for a longer period to get something better, depending on the job. But when it comes to others, they just might have to take what they can get. You know what I'm saying? And right now, you have companies that are taking, depending on their pool, looking for the best of the best, or they want to retain the people that they have. So, you have some companies probably paying a better salary depending on, what you're looking to get into. But the fact of the matter is, prices are going up. Eventually, people are going to have to work, 1 or 2 jobs, depending, in order to make ends meet. And unfortunately, that's what it's looking like if they don't get in. If inflation gets out of control and they can't get it under control within the next, year or so, it's going to be pretty rough. It will be pretty rough, because if they keep doing these 0.5 and they know it doesn't work, and they start having to say, well, look, this is not coming down, we're going to have to tighten up even tighter, and they hit it with that higher rate, like 0.75 or something like that. Poo-wee. Yeesh. You know what I mean? But like I said, I'm not a economist. You know what I mean? I'm just looking at things as how I see it as a normal person, and what I spend for food. And like, I don't have to deal with rent, but you got people that deal with rent. So people have to deal with rent, food. We all have to deal with fuel. We all gotta have travel to go to work. You know what I mean? Even if you still look at some of these car prices and whatnot, they're still pretty high. You see what I'm saying? Transportation costs. So when I look at things, when it comes to the market and everything going on, I look at it from a consumer perspective, and I look at it from, well, number one, how can I save money but also make money when it comes to these type of conditions. And to me, when it comes to making money, it's about being in the stock market, trying to, like I said, for me, I pick my own stocks. So I'm going with the stocks that I know personally that are going to make money in any situation. And like I said, one example of that is Walmart. If you get into a good price target, that's why I said dollar cost average in. If you get into a good price target, Walmart you get Walmart at a nice little discount. There are a lot of companies right now that are heavily discounted because of what's been going on with the rise of interest rates. So like I said, if you're one of those ones who aren't picking your own stocks and you're just investing and you already have like I always say, the easiest way to invest is invest into an ETF, you know, and SPYVOO. I will always say it on every financial stream that I do. When it comes to simple investing, all you got to do is just invest in an ETF, invest in SPYVOO. If you're just looking for simple, set it and forget it. I will always say that every financial stream. You know what I mean? But me personally, I like to pick stocks. You know, I like to see what I can do personally. And eventually, yes, I will have an ETF. I don't have one yet, but I would like to diversify myself in having an ETF, picking some stocks, and also having real estate, you know, a few pieces of real estate to kind of balance out my portfolio. So, but let's see, what else can we find a certain number that we're looking for? Yes, the house, is it showing here? Right here. Okay. If you guys look at this is what I was talking about. The unemployment rates right here, right? I believe this, yes, this is the one that talks about, okay, so it gives you like this very specific breakdown of unemployment by age, you know, diplomas and whatnot, and all that. So like you have unemployment amongst Black African Americans is, let me go up and see where this starts at. All right, so as we're sitting right now, right? Let me highlight this for y'all if I can highlight it in here. So as you can see, in April, the unemployment was 9.7. April 2021. February 2022 was at 6.6. March was at 6.2, and it has dropped to 5.9. So the national average is what, 3.6, and amongst Black African Americans, it's still higher. When it comes to, if you look right below it, when it comes to Asian, it's 3.1 unemployment rate. Hispanic is 4.1. Whites are at 3.2. You know what I mean? So the highest unemployment is when it comes to African Americans right now. So it's always higher. Now that can be for many reasons, whatever it is. So, but those are the numbers that I always look at, not just the total, but when you come down and you get down to that real nitty, you know what I mean? When you get down to that real small numbers, you know, then you get a better gist of when you have it, break it down by, you know, white, Black, Hispanic, you know what I mean, Asian, when they have it broke down like this. So all right, so next, appreciate everybody joining your boy for this little, like I said, it's been a while since we've done a financial corner, but we trying to, you know what I mean, pass on the little knowledge about what's going on, show y'all what's happening. We all know the national gas prices, so let's look at this lovely area in the red. Let me scroll up a little bit so everybody can see. This is AAA's national as of today. As of today, the national gas price is up. You know what I mean? And that is a lot. A lot. So if y'all look at the colored areas there, you know, obviously the red is extremely high. The blue is somewhat so-so. The blue is, you know, somewhat okay. I'm in one of those blue states, the dark blue. You know what I mean? So I'm still pretty high. Everything is over $4 a gallon. So just to give you guys a kind of snapshot of what it's looking like when it comes to gas prices all over the United States. And I know in certain places that I've seen people posting pictures on TikTok or IG or something like that, where some places are like $6 or $7 a gallon, depending on where you at. And that's kind of crazy, when it comes to fuel. So, but this is what is going to be a consistent thing. It is very possible the national average could be $5 a gallon come, August. It is a very possible thing. Now, it's not something you're going to be able to get away from. You have to budget yourself when it comes to fuel and food. You have to eat, you have to have fuel to go to work. You know what I'm saying? And if you have kids, you know what I mean? It's going to get even more serious. See what I'm saying? So, there's just certain things we can't dodge. But this is what I always say too. When it comes to budgeting, like me personally, there's certain things that are automatically have to come out first. Money that I save and my investments, my reinvestments come first. You know what I mean? I put a little money away in my investment accounts and I put a little money away in savings first. Then I pay all my bills. And once I pay all my bills, you notice I say I do my investments and saving first. Then I pay all my bills. And after all that, once all the bills are paid, then whatever I have left over, I either, put it back into the business and whatever I'm doing, or I try to pay a little extra here and there, because I would at least say for the next 5 years, I want to make sure that I'm putting every bit of money that I have either into some type of cash flow, because having money in the bank, I'm just losing money. What I mean by that is I want to make sure I'm investing in areas that I can get consistent cash flow, aka either in the stock market or in real estate, either buying commercial property or residential property, something that can, that I'm just getting money from. Because if, like I said, $1 today is not the same as $1 10, 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So yes, you need to have emergency funds. What was the rule that I've heard? Like, you want to have at least a year's worth of bills saved up if possible. You know what I mean? But they're even saying that you have, what was the percentage? Like, there's like over 50-60% of the United States doesn't even have $1,000 in their savings. You know what I mean? And that's scary. That is scary, because some people are right on the edge of, if one disaster happens, it like wipes them out. You know what I mean? And that is a scary feeling. Hence why I always tell people that I know, people that I come across, if they ask me certain questions when it comes to finances, I'd be honest with them, and I tell them, hey, what do you have, this and that, and I can try to help you and best kind of guide you in, setting up yourself a little bit better for success. But it is not easy out there. You know what I mean? But as the unfortunate thing is, we don't know what's going to happen down the road when it comes to the inflation and the increase of these interest rates. So until those things come down, we're kind of at the mercy of, the higher prices when it comes to food, gas, rent, and everything else. So, we just got to prepare for, the best we can. So, but like I said before, if you guys are looking for particular stocks to look at, I didn't really come with a particular stock deal today. Today was just more of a, talk about general stuff, basic finances, what are we looking at, how bad can it possibly be? Like I said, it could, if the interest rates go up and it tightens the market, it tightens the economy tight enough, There's a possibility of a recession. And if you're looking at certain stocks when it comes to a recession, there is one thing that is guaranteed. People need food. That is guaranteed. People need food. The demand of fuel oil might drop because people probably won't be going all over the place if a recession happens. So you're going to be looking at certain stocks that are what they call, I won't say recession proof, I'm not going to say that, but more that can absorb some of these things that could happen, you know. So obviously you can look at stocks that are, you know, just on a common sense deal. You know, we all know Microsoft gonna get it. We all know Apple gonna get it. We all know energy's gonna get it, regardless of the fact. So if you're able to get it, see, like I said, I got into energy when it was low, like pandemic low. When I got into energy,